welcome to the April 14th school committee meeting. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There are some minor technical difficulties here caused by guess who. Okay, first item on the agenda is to ratify the agenda of April 14th. We'll take a motion to do that, please.
Make a motion that we ratify the agenda for April 14th, 2021.
Thank you, John. Motion's been made by Don. A second?
I second.
Thank you. Seconded by Nicole. Any discussion on the motion, Don?
No.
Anyone?
No.
Oh, okay. Kathy?
Yes.
Jeff? Jeff?
Can I hear it?
You are muted, my friend.
Scarlett, can you hear us?
No.
No.
Okay. It's what? Oh, yeah, that's why. We did this last time. I feel good.
Your exercise for the day.
You are not wrong. How about now? Can you hear us? Oh, hooray!
Wonderful.
Sorry.
Oh, welcome, Skylar, Jeff, and whoever else is there. Stacy. Jeff, we're taking a vote on ratifying. It's been moved and seconded, and we're calling for the vote. Your vote, sir? Approved. Don?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And George, yes. 5-0. And our first order of business this evening is our student representative, Skylar Rimple. Skylar, please join us.
Hi, good evening. Mashpee students are excited to be phased back into school full-time in-person learning, and I'm excited that this week is my last remote week. I hope it stays that way, and that us juniors return the week after break, which we're all looking forward to. The National Honor Society, as well as the National English and Math Honor Societies, have done an excellent job pairing with students over Zoom during the directed study period for peer tutoring, and it also allows Honor Society members to get community service hours and engage academically with students during the ongoing pandemic. Speaking of which, the National Math Honor Society, also known as Mu Alpha Theta, held a virtual induction ceremony last Wednesday, which was very well done by officers Shivani Patel, Cindy Puchel, Ben Kennedy, and Elena Hanna, all seniors, as well as our advisor, Mrs. Brody. And the National English Honor Society will be holding a virtual induction tomorrow evening. Something important to highlight about tomorrow, April 15th as well, is that it is One Boston Day, which recognizes the 8th anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombings. And every life lost to this tragedy is deeply missed in our Massachusetts community, but one loss that always hits me the most is the loss of Martin Richard, who would have been a high school junior like me in the same year. And tomorrow in our Mashpee district, I just wanted to encourage everyone to embody his message of no more hurting people, peace, and choose kindness, because those are very important. Going along with that, Project 351's Mashpee Ambassador Hannah Rogers has already been doing an excellent job in organizing the 11th annual Spring Service Drive for Cradles to Crayons. We will be collecting clothing from newborn to youth large this year, and would be thrilled for anyone to donate. And we'll be running it from May 10th to May 21st, and all donations must be new or gently used. So Hannah has been a rock star with that so far. Last Monday evening, some Mashpee students got involved in a very special mapathon using open street mapping, and got to hear from the geographer of the United States as a guest speaker, which was very cool. And on this Zoom, we learned about the importance of mapping how it impacts the lives of others, and how we can play a positive role in it. The National Art Honor Society is currently working on a Kindness Rock project initiated by Ms. Deschamps, which is a lot of fun, very spring. The National Tech Honor Society is planning for its virtual hackathon/inventathon, which will take place at the end of April into early May. Students are currently uploading Screencastify videos and preparing for a very excited tech-based weekend. Going into the athletic side of this report, I'm so happy to announce 2 big victories for girls volleyball and girls track. The varsity girls volleyball team, which is new to the South Shore League this year, and most girls only are new this year or have 1 year of experience, won three sets out of the 5 sets last Monday to defeat Middleborough and progress in the tournament. Mashpee was ranked 6th and Middleborough 3rd, so this was a really, really good upset for the Falcons that they led. And Maggie Connolly, Cheyenne Hendricks, and Olivia Oliveira captained this team and are all standout players statistically and in their sportsmanship. Then just yesterday, the girls track team got their very first win with a score of 47-44, which was very special for seniors Caroline Shields and Elena Hanna, who ended their track careers in success. Spring sports are starting right after vacation, and different teams have been and are hosting interest meetings to prepare. And the Mashpee High School robotics members continue to prove their excellence when they won the Southern New England Championship, which is an excellent reflection of not only the Ware and the Perry brothers, but the Mashpee Tech program as a whole. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Skylar. It's hard to believe that it was 8 years ago. With the marathon on it, it seems like a lifetime ago, and it seems like yesterday. Any questions from any members of the committee? No? Okay, well, fine. Thank you, Skylar. Best of luck when you
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Skylar.
Next is from the representative from the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, Cameron. If you're trying to speak, you are muted. So why don't we go on to the next item of agenda? We'll try Karen in a few more minutes. Next up is...
Excuse me, George, can I request, Hope, could you?
I'm texting him now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then just let him know when he's ready. I assume he's representing the tribe tonight, but we don't know that.
There he is. Oh,
Yes.
Hey, Cameron.
Hi.
No monkeys crawling all over you tonight.
I put the movie on just as soon as I got on here.
Good thinking.
I told my wife I had a meeting at 5:30. She went on a bike ride with the other kids. Anyway, my 2 babies. So let me get my sheet up here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi.
Welcome.
So yeah, let's see. I'll start out with reading what Roxanne came up with. The State Tribal Education Partnership, awarded by the U.S. Department of Education / Office of Indian Education, is in full swing as we work towards building the capacity of DESE and public school staff on more effectively education and understanding Native youth, while building the professional capacity of tribal education staff to engage and educate stakeholders to improve Native student outcomes and our communities. The work with educators today is expected to positively impact Native American and other students tomorrow. Congratulations to all for receiving the National School Board Association's Magna Award in recognition of the ongoing work between the district, the tribe, and the community. We look forward to the challenges ahead. The Tribal Child Care Center and construction team looks forward to identifying the architect and engineer for site work and construction of the 5,300 square foot, 1-story building with a slab foundation. The education team looks forward to exchanging information with the superintendent of Falmouth Schools on the formal partnership the tribe has with Mashpee and DESE. So we'll be following up on that soon. Our goal is to include Falmouth and Barnstable in the state tribal education agreement. The tribe's Indian education program added the Bourne School District, 35 students, to its partnerships for school year 21-22. Joining Falmouth, 99 students, Barnstable at 103 students, Sandwich, 20 students, New Bedford, 29 students, and Wareham, 105 students. Working with districts to formally identify Native students. The tribe provides direct services to Native American students K through 12 to support their identified academic and cultural needs. Let's see. Sorry, one second. The education team is working with DESE curriculum staff, Falmouth, Mashpee, and Barnstable district employees to determine areas tribal education can begin to focus and provide supplemental content, projects, and instructional strategies. Ideas include tribal court structure, the tribe's constitution, and Supreme Court cases. Introducing Indian education program to the Falmouth High School administration on Friday to ultimately reach students in need of academic, cultural, and social emotional support. The tribal education team, with its consultant partners, will facilitate a presentation entitled Systemic Challenges, Resiliency, and Perseverance, the Education of Mashpee Wampanoag Youth, at the Educating All Cape Cod Children Celebrating the Mosaic Virtual Educator Conference, Monday, July 19th, and Tuesday, July 20th, 2021. There, we will be sharing some interesting facts. The proposed truancy agreement is with our consulting attorney as the Elders Judiciary develops the juvenile ordinance. Once vetted, it will be provided to the superintendent for review and discussion. It basically addresses referring Native American students to tribal court instead of Massachusetts District Court. If there is an issue of truancy, it also addresses utilizing tribal court's elders panel to address attendance issues with Native families before they escalate to truancy. So that was the document I was told to provide to you guys. Other things that we're into right now, I wanted to say I got to get on with, I had a panel discussion I was invited to from Harvard, Harvard Education, gosh, I can't remember what they were called now. But anyway, they're Harvard, and they invited me to come on to talk about first generation college students. And we talked about the barriers, the successes, what types of differences, similarities there are with other entities. There was other people from other different backgrounds and also that worked with other youth. And I was the only one that represented the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe and working with Native students. And it was a great opportunity. And I got to do it for Harvard. I never thought I'd do anything with Harvard because I'm from Wisconsin. And it was just great that I got that chance to do that. Other things we got in the works right now, we have Jerry Lassos working with Quashnit School, and he's kind of involved with the curriculum development at certain levels right now. I believe they're still in the planning stages and contact stages, but he's still working hard on that. We also have Darius Coombs. Is Darius Coombs on the meeting? No? Okay. Darius Coombs, our cultural outreach coordinator. He also has some things coming up. Where he's in development stages of a professional development day with the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe for the local educators. And it's going to be a day conference, and it's a full-fledged conference with PDPs offered to faculties. So that's in the works right now, and I think that's about it that I can think of right now. But thank you for your time. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions, anyone? Nicole?
Thanks, Cameron. I wanted to ask about the professional development day you just mentioned. Did you say that was just for Mashpee teachers, or?
We haven't decided that yet. I think we're going to try to keep it open, but again, the numbers we're trying to keep kind of low due to COVID-19 because we were thinking of doing it either, I think he said we're going to try to do it in person, but if we have to do virtual, we do virtual. But I think he was inviting more teachers. We're trying to hit the Falmouth, Barnstable. We're trying to get everybody there. It'd be great to be in person because we were thinking about August is having it, but considering all the numbers right now, we're not too sure.
Okay.
Sorry. And so yeah, that's still in the works. You guys will be in we'll be in contact with you about that. I also wanted to mention the STEP grant. You guys have Mr. Oakley. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. CJ Oakley, right?
Yeah.
And he's trying to become a teacher. Is that correct? For Mashpee?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So with the STEP grant for us, we're always looking for Native educators, and we'd be more than happy to assist with him any type of professional development or courses that he would need or certificates. So just to put that out there for you guys.
Gotcha. Thank
Anything
you.
else? Jeff, any questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your report.
Okay.
Hey, Cameron,
Thank you.
will you
Have a-
ask
have a good evening.
Roxanne if
Cameron.
she's going to give you something for in writing that's prepared, if that can be shared with the school committee? Because I'm sure we missed some of everything that you read through, so I was just wondering if you could share that
Yeah.
after the fact with us.
Yes, definitely. If not tonight, I'll have Roxanne get it to you guys right away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, folks. Take care.
Thank you very much. Next is Nurse Stacy.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. So on my list of things this evening again is the data dashboard. So it has been updated with our letter from today. So the information on there is current and up to date. As you can see, now that we have more students in person, our health offices are busier, and that's moving along. And we're continuing with our same protocols, same asking people to stay home if they're sick, calling, self-attesting daily. We do have travel coming up with April vacation, so all of our safety measures are staying the same, even though it's a travel advisory now versus order by the state. We're still following the same guidance we've been using all year because that has been helping us keep COVID out of our schools. So if people have questions or concerns, I will be available and checking email and text and phone calls over vacation so I can clear people right through to get kids back with everybody in on Monday the 26th. So that's going really well. Don't know if anybody has any questions about the data dashboard information.
And just to be clear, I gave you a hard copy of the most up-to-date data dashboard is on your table versus what was in the packet.
Thank you.
There's a question, George.
Question, Don?
So, since students have gone back or are transitioning back to the classroom, what is your opinion in regard to the number of positive cases and also the corresponding, well, maybe not corresponding, but the big jump in number of close contacts that have been identified?
Sure. So as far as positive cases, we have trended, I always don't like to say this out loud, but back into our post-vacation holiday. We are just did celebrate a holiday weekend, so I anticipate cases to pick up over this weekend and next week, just because we're 2 weeks post that. That's just our trend. And then again, cases to pick up after vacation, just because it's vacation and many people are traveling and the weather's nicer and people are out and about. So I'm not seeing an increase in positive cases since we've been back more full in. Yes, close contacts, that was to be anticipated because the definition of close contacts is anyone closer than 6 feet for 15 minutes or more in a 24-hour period. So now that our 4 through 12 grade levels are primarily all in except for the juniors for Monday, the 26th, we will see increased close contacts if we do have a positive individual that's been in our buildings in the criteria that we contact trace. So it's not unanticipated. So right now I do not have still any in-school transmission from this, but again, we haven't been in for long, so we are continuing to monitor it, track it. Staff and administrators have done an amazing job giving us the tools so that we can do things in a very timely manner, organized manner, safe manner, up to date. It's been a really great team effort. So our systems are in place and working. So I'm very, right now, comfortable with the way things are moving. And we'll just keep going with what we're doing.
So, can you refresh my memory in regard to the impact of when a person is identified as a close contact and
I'm sorry, Don, I can't hear you.
I'm getting notes that your sound is, you need to speak up, please, Don, in life.
So, can you hear me now? Better?
Slightly.
Slightly better? Hold on.
That's better.
That's better.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Good.
Now, okay. So please refresh my memory in regard to the impact of when an individual is identified as a close contact and what they have to do, particularly in regard to attendance in school.
Sure. So if you're identified as a close contact, we have a date of exposure. We request / strongly suggest, it's not required to test day 5 or after from date of exposure. We are still following a 14-day quarantine guideline, but students are able to participate remotely following the remote model that we're using now. So they're marked as TRP, temporary remote present, expected to check in and participate for the periods that have been established. And if they're not penalized if they are needing to quarantine due to being identified as a close contact or if they're in isolation themselves.
Okay. And that quarantine period is still 10 days?
We're 14 days still at this time.
14 days. So that they would be out basically...
I'm sorry, I lost that, Don.
They're basically out for 2 weeks, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, it depends on what day they're, all the dates, but yes.
Right.
It's 14 days from the date of exposure,
Correct.
and they don't have to produce a negative test to return. They just have to not be in school.
They have to remain asymptomatic through the 14 days. However, if they play sports, they do need to provide a test or follow the guidelines that are on the website for athletics.
Okay, thank you. How's the pool testing going?
So pool testing is awesome. The link has been updated. We had 63 participants tested this Monday. So we had 8 pools. So we jumped up a pool and added, Mr. Myers, you can do the math quicker for me, but I think 5-ish participants. And we did have our first positive pool test result. So our test turnaround time, it gets picked up at a 5 o'clock pickup on Monday, and I have the results back before 5 o'clock on Tuesday. We followed our protocol of testing and were able to identify our positive. It worked exactly like the program is supposed to. Very exciting to see that, and then we're able to proceed from there. So our participation is increasing. I am seeing more people signed up for the week after vacation. Again, we do it on Mondays, so we do not test over vacation week. So our next day is Monday, that's April 26th. So if you're interested in participating, if you're a staff member or a student from Mashpee schools, you can either reach out to me and I can send you the information, or the information's on our website. We would love to have more and more people participate. It's going really well.
Thank you. Question?
I have a question, but it's not on the pool testing. That's kind of back a
Sure.
step. Where we're coming up, like you said, we're having that uptick from the holiday, and now we're going to probably see an uptick from vacation. I guess my question is, what happens if we have more than one classroom that's on quarantine? I guess I'm wondering how that's going to work. I'm a little concerned because, looking at yesterday's number, today's number, I mean, if we have like 6 classrooms out on quarantine, like what is, do we know what's going to happen there? I mean, obviously the remote model changed, and they're just checking in, but it's not necessarily that learning model we had before. I guess I'm a little concerned about that. I want to know a little bit more about that, please.
So I can answer that. If a particular class, if the majority of kids are in quarantine, then that teacher would obviously teach in a different way because there aren't really any kids in that classroom. And yesterday, I know we had 30 close contacts, and today we had 13. But some of the 13 today were part of yesterday's close contacts, but with a different student, so we include them again. And it does seem to be in a particular area. But we will, the teachers know that if the number of students sitting in front of them, goes down to 1 or 2, they're obviously going to engage those remote students as if it was a regular class.
So the numbers from yesterday and the numbers from today have double, like it overlaps?
There's a little overlap in there because we still report them based on being a close contact to today's positive.
So are the numbers listed for close contact not unique?
This would be the first.
So that even the historical numbers are not, those individuals are not unique?
So I don't know, Stacy, if we've had close contacts more than once on our list. I have to go back through the names.
So again, if they're identified as a close contact, it's based on the close contact of the individual that's positive. That triggers them a date of exposure. So this is our first time that we've had this scenario happen, so we are monitoring it. But again, especially as it was a high school case, students are in potentially 8 classes in their weekly period. So there is a chance that they could be identified as a close contact to multiple positive people, but they are still, the data is still clean because they are a close contact to that positive. But you could be a close contact to a second positive. So we are tracking all of that. We are tracking how many times people are quarantined, what periods they are, where their close contact occurrence is coming. So we are looking, we monitor for trends and all of that. But if you're a close contact to Johnny and you played with Sally and she tests positive tomorrow, you're also a close contact to Sally and Johnny. That's 2 different close contact scenarios, but for one person. But they're still close contacts.
But your first date, like your time starts with that first close contact. Your 14-day quarantine starts with that first close contact, correct?
So if Johnny is positive, if I give you a date of exposure to Johnny as of yesterday, but you get exposed to Sally today, you get an added day to your quarantine.
Oh, okay.
You reset your date of exposure and you reset your quarantine dates.
And you may want to rethink your associations.
Yeah.
So John, the close contacts on this chart are tied to each positive case, but you could have been an athlete in the fall identified as a close contact, and then 3 or 4 months later, you might be a close contact to a different case. It's by per case.
Well, monthly makes sense to me again. It's more where it's like a day apart. If they're overlapping a day apart, I guess that's where
This is the first time.
And I don't, unfortunately, I'm trying to be positive, but I don't think it's going to be the last time, unfortunately. So I guess I'm just I just was curious. So.
What we really need to message to families is that if your child has, any kind of symptoms, even if it's a sore throat, any of those things, they do need to stay home and they need to connect with Stacy for guidance, because if we keep, symptomatic people out, we have a better chance of, maintaining the plan that we have in place.
Nicole?
That's a good point, Patty, and I think now that we're returning to 100% in person, I think a lot of families have been waiting for that, and so we have to be mindful of what we're still trying to do. My brain was turning a little bit about this pooled testing thing, so we're back 100%, and if you're in the pool and you get identified as positive, your kids and all their close contacts are going to be out for 14 days. So can you tell me why anyone would want to be in the pool?
Because again, pool testing lets us know asymptomatic positive. So if you are in a pool test and you test positive, you have been coming to school and you're asymptomatic. You want to know if you're an asymptomatic positive individual so that you don't continue to share and spread it with your household members, your school, your peers, your teammates, those kind of individuals. So early screening, early detection, if you're positive, helps stop the spread. So again, I understand what you're saying, but if you're positive, you're positive. So you're not just like a little positive, just like the whole, not just a little pregnant. So if you're positive, you're positive. So regardless of how you find out you're positive, if we can find out early, you are isolated, contact tracing occurs, yes, they will be quarantining, but that would happen regardless of if you were identified as a positive asymptomatic or waited till you became symptomatic. So we're slowing and stopping spread. By doing pool testing, it's allowing us to see if we have in-school transmission potentially sooner than later with asymptomatic spread. We are not seeing that. We're not seeing that across the state. We're not seeing that in our district, which is awesome. But it's another tool to make sure if somebody is asymptomatic positive, they're identified early. And if you are weekly pool tested, you will know that you were negative this Monday, I don't know what the date was, this Monday the 12th. If you test on the 19th and you're negative, and then you test on the 26th and you're positive, you know in real time, you've been negative, you know it's a true positive, you know you just got it, we can isolate you and slow the spread. So it's a tool in the toolbox. And the more people that participate, the better it is across the board.
Thank you. That's just what I wanted to hear, and I think that's probably the best explanation I've heard of why people should do it since we started.
I understand the hesitancy. I understand they're not wanting to do it. I encourage people to please reach out and have one-on-one discussions, because usually in a conversation I pick up on what that is or scenario and can maybe just clarify it. But it really is, again, another piece of the puzzle. This is not going away, unfortunately. So if we can have a better understanding and really clean understanding of what our community is facing and dealing with, it just helps everyone.
And I have one more question. And this has to do with the close contacts. So can you explain, or I don't want it to sound like accusatory, but can you help me understand these close contact forms or recess things that our kids are being asked to complete? Does that
Certainly.
ring a bell?
So I know Mrs. Brian's in the audience if she wants to interject if I don't answer correctly, but basically it's a way that we know our students in 3 through 6 are really good about knowing if they played with Johnny or Sally or Susie or whomever. So we're trying to identify who their close contacts are, because at recess we have a cohort outside, but if everyone doesn't play with everyone and they're 6 feet apart in other areas, it helps us look for if there is, it's another tool for in-school transmission too. If they've identified that they've played with certain students and they're close contacts and we see any spread, it's just another piece of data again for us. And to make sure that if they really did play with Johnny at recess, that is a true close contact, because recess is 20 minutes. So again, if they've played closer than 6 feet for 15 minutes or more, plus they've been in the classroom with Johnny, like, we're just looking for our data points.
So
just another tool.
Just so I understand though, so you have a recess group that's out there, and so you're not automatically defined as a close contact for everyone that's out there. It's a 20-minute recess block, and the first thing, do our kids have to fill out this paper when they come in from recess to say, list the 30 kids that they may have come into contact with on the playground, or when is that happening? I'm not sure I understand the process.
It's actually a Google form. I think Mrs. O'Brien can clarify if I'm wrong, but it's a Google form that they do when they come in after recess. It takes really no time at all.
Okay.
And it goes into a spreadsheet. It was actually a tool that was created. Mrs. O'Brien was really good at making it work. to make sure that we had really clean data, that we weren't quarantining someone unnecessarily. I don't want to quarantine a whole recess, but Board of Health wanted me to show that I had some data that I really knew who were the close contacts. Otherwise, we were going to quarantine a whole recess, which our goal is to keep our kids in. So whatever I can do to have really clear, clean data points, and no, that's what we're doing.
Hold on, let me figure out how to put this
You
on.
just pull that middle one until the light comes on the middle circle.
There we go. How's that?
Perfect.
So Stacy's absolutely correct on that. It is a Google form here at Quashnet, and it's really helped us identify quickly who might be a close contact with a student outside at recess. There are about 5 questions. What's your name? Who's your teacher? What lunch group are you in? And what playground area did you play in? And name the students who you were with. So not the 30 students, but most students are naming maybe 2 or 3 friends. And it really has helped us here at Quashnet. So when we're contact tracing, I can pull up that Google Doc. We sort it by the recess group, and very quickly we're able to see. And instead of telling well, each group has approximately 55 to 60 students in it, each recess group. Now it's more because we're back in person. But instead of quarantining everyone, we can just look at that form to see really who they were exposed to for 15 minutes or more. So.
And when did we start doing that? Just curious.
We started doing that back at, I'm trying to think, I think February maybe? Around February.
All right, great, thank you.
And the kids have been wonderful with it. So, and we've perfected it too. So now it goes out for just a week at a time, and each week they get a new link to fill out.
Oh, so they fill it out for a whole week?
Each day they come in, but it's set up so we can quickly and easily go to that spreadsheet that comes out of the Google Doc and look it up. And they come in from recess. It's a nice transition to the classroom. The kids open up their Chromebook, fill out that Google form, and they're good to go.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you found a way to not have to quarantine the whole recess group. So
yes,
good
because I was having panic attacks. But we have been able to really reduce that risk and limit that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Principal O'Brien. And we're all set for the staff testing this coming Friday, I believe?
Correct, this Friday at the Mashpee Tribe, our staff will be getting their second dose of Moderna. So looking forward to it. It's going to rain, so that's just about right for me. It's very exciting. So we're still grateful and on target for that.
Poor Stacy, it was like 4 degrees when we did the first shot.
I know, a little windy, you know.
Okay,
hey, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you guys can see my hand.
No.
Oh, I
It's small, it's yellow, it's digital. You guys can see it?
It only comes to me.
Raise your actual hand in the future.
No, I just wanted, if I could, real quick, I just want to make a comment about the pool testing, because I actually had a discussion with an individual yesterday, and there seems to still be some concern about it, and the fact that people still seem to think that if you're within the pool and someone in the pool tests positive, that everybody in that pool is now a close contact. And I just wanted to see if Nurse Stacy could verify that that is 100% incorrect. And
Correct.
that normal close contact tracing goes into effect no matter if they're in a pool or not.
Correct. It doesn't really matter what pool you're in. We are using average pool sizes, average pool size of 10 to a pool, which seems to be really manageable on all schemes of things. But it doesn't actually matter what tube your swab goes in. It'll either be positive or it won't. We identify the pool and know whose swab was in that pool, and then you come back if your pool is positive. And today we had those individuals come, have their Binex now, another nasal swab, and their results come back in 15 minutes. They're negative, they participate and go on their way. If they're positive, they go home. And then we contact trace from the positive individual. So it does not matter I could have 100 people in one test tube. We're only allowed 25 in a tube, but it doesn't change anything. If you're positive. We contact trace you as you're the individual positive and all your close contacts, regardless of what tube you're in.
So close contacts are not swab to swab, it's human being to human being.
It's a virtual pool. It's not a real pool. Yeah. Gotcha.
Well, Cassie thinks it is, but.
All set, Jeff? I guess so.
Any
Okay,
other
thank you very
questions
much,
for me?
Stacy. Next is the annual presentation from Dr. Curley on special education. Dr. Curley.
Dr. Curley dressed up tonight. I love it. You have to turn it the other way.
Yes.
Trying to correct me.
Yeah.
There we go.
And face it towards us.
There
Yeah.
you go, and then you have to hold the mic.
Good evening, everybody.
Hold on.
You gotta hold it closer and turn the volume up, I think.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, try turning the volume up. Just don't put the mic near the speaker, yeah.
Like that.
Good at this.
Oh, good. Not only me.
No, we were a mess last time.
Yeah.
You
Is
just
this
missed
the
it.
volume in here?
Maddie's coming. I don't know how to fix it or I can help you.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Can you hear me now?
A little better.
Okay. Hello?
Yes,
Bingo.
All right.
perfect.
So thank you all for having me here tonight. Good evening. I first just want to give a shout out to all the special ed teachers, related service providers, and paraprofessionals for all the hard work they have done in educating special ed students since the start of the school year. I also want to give a shout out to all the students because they've done an amazing job adapting, especially as things have changed since the start of the school year. And I'm just going to give you a few highlights from the special ed department so far this year. So if I go back to August, at that time we were given guidance from the state to prioritize our students with high needs for in-person learners. So every student has a designation on their IEP, which is calculated by the services on their IEP as low, medium, or high. And so we went through all the IEPs and identified approximately 40 students to bring back for full-time in-person learners. So those students weren't hybrid, they came back every single day. Then for the students who were hybrid learners or were remote learners, those students were all given a special ed learning plan. So on that learning plan was basically on the weeks when the student was hybrid, how those services were going to look different than when the student was in school. So it might have been something as simple as they're going to be zoomed into the classroom and receive their services that way. So every student was given that by the first Friday, I think it was September 18th of that first week of school. Most recently, on April 5th, when we started to bring back grades 4, 5, 7, and 12, we also offered at that time for all of our special ed students to come back as full-time in-person learners. We reached out to the parents via survey, and whoever didn't respond to the survey, we called them individually, and we asked them if they wanted to come back on April 5th, or if they wanted to come back at their designated grade level. So I don't have the total number, but I would say the vast majority of all the parents wanted their children or their child to come back on April 5th. So that was good. So most of our students are all back full-time in person now. A little bit about the professional development that's gone on since the start of the school year. As I told you, I think at the beginning of the year, we're part of the IEP improvement project. So far our task has been, there's a document out there called Is Special Education the Right Service? And so there was a group of a bunch of different people from across the state that got together from 4 to 6, a bunch of nights over the course of the school year. And we went through the document and we provided feedback really to the state. A couple of weeks ago, we met with the state and provided them with all of our feedback. They're going to take that information and then, edit the document as to how they see fit. Our next step on the IEP improvement project is to do self-assessments at our building level. So that's coming up, it has not happened yet. We were granted some additional grants this year due to COVID. One of them was Grant 274. And so one of the things we're going to do with that additional money is we're going to provide more staff and the Think Kids problem-solving approach, which basically the motto is kids do well if they can, not if they want to. So a couple of years ago, the National Alliance for Mental Illness on Cape Cod provided funding for 25 of our staff to have an overview, a tier 1 and a tier 2 training. So 25 of our staff went, and we really liked the approach. So we're going to train probably about another 10 staff members in an overview and at least a tier 1 for this year. So we're currently working on that right now. Hope and I are certified in collaborative problem solving, and we ran a parent class this past winter, which we thought went well. So we'll be offering that again at some point again in the future. Also, Safety Care, which is a de-escalation strategy program that works on preventing and managing difficult behaviors. We have trained a lot of staff members this year. We've done 21 initial certifications and 22 recertifications. We provided training in September, November, December, February, and March. Once you get trained, you need to be recertified every year. What else I have?
How many recertifications did you say?
I said 22 recertifications and 21 initials. The other thing, mental health first aid, Hope and I are both instructors and trainers for that, and we provided professional development in that area to all the paraprofessionals at the start of the school year. So they went through that training, and we got a lot of positive feedback. They enjoyed that. And again, we'll be offering that to other staff members sometime maybe later this spring, summer, fall. Our paraprofessionals in all of our buildings took a course recently, starting on the March 19th Professional Development Day, Understanding and Addressing Implicit Bias in Our Schools. It was a 6-hour asynchronous course, so most of them have finished. There's still some that need to finish because based on the times that they had, some were leaving to get their vaccinations, and there were some other meetings or whatever. So whatever they didn't finish, they're going to have additional time to finish. For the paraprofessionals who finished the bias training, they are now involved in a book study. And the book they'll be reading is Engaging Students with Poverty in Mind, Practical Strategies for Raising Achievement. So they will be reading that book and then providing some discussion around that. And then 23 of our staff members, which is a combination of department heads, teachers, administrators, attended a virtual training with Jessica Minahan and Sarah Ward called Practical Strategies for Increasing Student Engagement, which included strategies to reduce anxiety in students and increase their executive functioning skills. And so that was well received as well. So those were just some updates from the school year so far. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
John? Nicole?
I have one question. So I'm just curious, when you talked about August, you prioritized the high needs kids, and then every student on IEP was given this specialized learning plan with sort of different, and so refresh my memory how many kids we have on IEPs in this district right now?
Maybe around 250.
It's 246 according to the chart.
Okay, so, sorry, I was looking for that, and it must be in here, but I
It's
just
on
couldn't.
enrollment.
Oh, okay. And then, so does that mean you and your staff talk to each of those families individually?
So for the learning, we called all the families who had students of the 40 that we were offering full-time in person to. So we spoke with all of them and offered it. And then for the special ed learning plans, yes, each special ed teacher, each liaison, so it could have been a speech language pathologist or somebody, OT, phone called all the parents and talked to them about what the plan would entail so that they knew that moving forward. And then they were given a written copy via their choice, whether it be US mail or email.
Well, I just have to say thank you. I think that's just an amazing amount of communication that you guys did, and I think if there's any upside to COVID, it's that we are in closer contact with our families this year than we probably ever have been. So that's just really encouraging, and thank you for giving every family that individual focus and attention. I'm sure they appreciate that.
And we have some amazing special ed teachers and related service providers that did all that hard work. So
Yeah, extend our thanks.
I will. Thank you.
Okay, and I don't see Jeff's hand up, so thank you very much, Dr. Curley.
Wait, no,
What?
John,
I have a question.
You had a question?
Just two.
True.
You're only allowed one done.
And I'm good too, George, thanks.
Okay.
You want to go ahead, Jeff?
He said he's good.
Oh, he's good. I'm sorry. So, my first question in regard to the IEP improvement plan, can you give me a little more color on that? Have parents been involved in that process at this point, or is that in the next step, or?
They have not been involved as of yet. No, Hope is part of it, and Hope is a parent.
Actually, sorry, there's a whole group of parents and advocates. Is this from the state level you're talking about, or from Mashpee?
From Mashpee.
No, the state level had a group of parents and advocates and teachers and special ed staff who participated in this, that they sort of chose. I did serve as a parent on this, but the next steps will have sort of a greater Mashpee outcome, but we were giving input into that state document to start. Does that make sense?
No. So the assessment at the building level then will incorporate more of the local flavor, is that correct?
So we're just kind of getting started on that, to be honest with you. We haven't really looked at it yet, so once I have more information on that. But yes, there will be more opportunities for others to be involved moving forward.
Okay. The other question is just your opinion, based upon what all of the students, the 240 odd students that we have on IEPs, your overall assessment of how kids have been able to progress or potentially regress, and what you think we need to be doing to be able to help them either catch up or to continue to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the information that I've gotten from out of district placements, as well as the people within our buildings, our team chairs from team meetings and students, for the most part, kids, I think when they first came back in September, were a little rusty. But they have really been making progress and, generally speaking, doing a great job. There have been a couple of students here and there that have needed additional services, and we've added that and we've done that, and those students are continuing to make progress. So it's one of those things, again, we've been trying to communicate with families as much as possible, have those discussions at team meetings, and when needed and when the data supports that additional services need to be added, we're doing that. But surprisingly, I think we thought there was going to be a lot more of regression than there actually was, so that's a good thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Curley.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Public comment, I do not. There is no one that I can see that is a public comment.
Nothing in the chat.
Nothing in the chat. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Approval, a consent motion to approve the minutes of March 17th. We'll accept the motion to approve.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
What am I moving?
Moving to,
Approve the minutes or to pass the consent motion?
why don't we just move to approve the minutes? It's a lot quicker.
Okay. Is there just one set in here?
Yes.
Okay. I move to approve the minutes of Wednesday, March 17th, school committee meeting.
There's been a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Jeff.
Thank you very much, Jeff. A motion by Nicole, seconded by Jeff. Comments, Nicole?
Nothing.
Anyone else? Seeing none, call for the vote. Kathy?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And I abstain. Report of the superintendent. Superintendent Board.
Thank you, everyone. The first item on the agenda is a conversation about the school year, particularly the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks since we last had our meeting in March 17th, and the transformation. I did want to point out page 6 in your packet, which is the enrollment. And I don't know if you have any questions on that, but you will notice the difference from March. Actually, I think that's a backwards presentation. But you can see a big reduction in the number of remote learners. Those dates are actually backwards on that chart, I've just noticed. So from earlier, it was 275 and down to 159. We continue to have changes made daily where families are making a choice, and for the most part, they're choosing to become an in-person learner. And also the homeschool on this chart from the last month's chart is 44, so 3 of those homeschooled students have returned to school, which is also something we're hoping to see more of as we progress. Does anybody have any questions on that chart? Nicole?
So nobody has to declare the rest of the year now. So those homeschooled kids and families will have the opportunity to jump back in with that 6-week, with that waiting period if needed, but it's not like they need to decide by April something.
No, the homeschool is a different category. They actually have to re-enroll
Oh, okay.
in the district. So,
Great, thank you.
No.
And so in terms of readying our schools, I just want to give some shout outs. So first off, the DPW. From March 17th to when we first started to bring students back that first week of April, they had to help us quite a bit with removing furniture from the storage units on the campus of Washington and the high school. There were a lot of desks in there. They also had to assist with setting up gymnasiums and cafeterias with additional seating because we're still 6 feet apart in the eating areas, and so they had to add more chairs because we have more students in the building. And they had to move some of the chairs out into classrooms, and we put the less desirable chairs or desks in those eating areas. And then we also, they had to do a lot of work in getting our grades 4 through 12 classrooms ready in terms of spacing. So they came through, and I think they did work on some weekends, marking the 3-foot distancing and measuring precisely, and they put these Velcro dots down so that those would all be ready for when the students return. They also put up the canopy on all 3 of the tents. They ordered and made sure we had the extra sanitation wipes that we would need, particularly at the high school, because now you have more students wiping more desks in every class. So we'll be going through those much more often. I also want to thank the Cape Cod Collaborative. They had to, engage in work that normally is happening in the summer, which was developing, basically revised and updated all of our routes, because it did impact even the K-3 who were on a particular bus already. So a lot of work went into that, and also for our Director of Finance, Ashley Lopes, and Maria Fisher, they put a tremendous amount of time into assisting with those routes, and then once the routes were done, developing the seating plans. And like we said in the past, our buses generally load from first student at the first stop, goes to the back and forward. But those bus seating plans are very important to us, and I know one of the bus drivers said, they don't do that in other districts. But then what you do is similar to Mary Kate and her recess plan, you have to quarantine the whole bus if you don't know that information. So we do strive on a daily basis. We take attendance, and we have those sheets to reference, and they're all saved electronically, so from home we're able to look at who might be a close contact on the bus. But I really want to praise Lisa and her team at the Collaborative for their flexibility and patience and sort of going above and beyond to meet the deadlines that we needed for this to happen. Also from my office and also Dr. Curley, they have been riding buses in the morning for, I think this is the 2nd week, to provide support to the bus drivers in getting those initial seating plans accurately recorded in terms of attendance. And I think other than possibly the Monday after the vacation when we bring our 9th and 11th graders back, we should be pretty well set. Everybody understands what's expected and where they're supposed to be sitting. I also want to give a shout out to the association. We've worked very closely with them. They've been great collaborators. They've had great ideas that have come into our plan. We've met with them, some of the weeks it was 3 times a week. Now it's pretty much once a week. But they're sort of, in the front lines, and they come up with ideas based on their own practice that we might not have thought of. So it's been a really good team effort. And again, I also want to, so I don't think I named who's been riding buses. Hope, Jamie, Darlene Phelan, Maria Fisher, Ashley Lopes have been riding the buses, and we're very grateful to them.
Bus 7.
And then I also wanted to just, as I do often, but the teachers have really been remarkably flexible and patient and learning really, version probably 3.0 of instruction for this year and classroom operations that they've had to start over again and, figure things out, and they've really worked well together and been very student-centered, so I'm very grateful to all of their work, and obviously I'm very thankful to the building leaders as well, who have gone above and beyond and put in a lot of extra time just to plan a lot of logistics that you don't think need to be planned, but for a well-run operation, they do a great job of thinking of everything that has to be done. And so far, I think like Skyla said, it's really great to see the kids in the classroom. One of the comments from a 3rd grade teacher was sort of reintroducing the idea of stamina, which we often have to attend to when we come back in September because everyone's in that sort of summer mode. And so the learning at home mode has been a little bit different. So that stamina piece, and one 3rd grade teacher has to tell her student that, no, you do have to wear your shoes in school. And so it's just like a lot of little things of really meeting students where they are and helping them to sort of understand that it's different than in a sort of a non-COVID year, but there are still expectations, and we're trying to make sure everyone understands them so they can be successful. And so that so far is good. And I know having the opportunity to go in a lot of classrooms and having like one-on-one quick conversations with kids, they all are very happy to be here. And the buses are back to feeling like normal student buses where they're a little louder. I'll speak for the elementary level. Middle high school, they're into themselves, but the elementary kids are just back to being their little energetic selves. And so adjusting to the bus is a little bit of a piece that we're working through with some of our students, some of our scholars. And so just to reinforce, so right now, K-3 has not changed their model. They are still 6 feet apart. Nothing in their world has changed. And grades 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and 12 are back to full-time in-person learning. And all we have left to bring back fully is our 9th and 11th graders on the Monday after vacation. So, fingers crossed. And again, I'm going to just emphasize to whoever's watching this program that if you are a family and your child is showing any kind of symptoms or not feeling well, please, please, please stay home, because that is what we need to happen in order that we're not spreading, particularly if we're not spreading. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So recognitions and acknowledgements, I have, I'm not going to read it, but we did send a letter to the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, particularly to their health services unit, to thank them for the vaccination clinic on March 19th and how much we appreciated and valued it. And we'll probably do some sort of recognition for them after this Friday's clinic, the final one as well. And then I did want to read an announcement that I received. It's the President's Volunteer Service Award, and this was a press release after March 28th. And this is related to one of our students. So on Sunday, March 28th, Hunter Toby of Mashpee will be presented, or was presented, with a President's Volunteer Service Award, gold level, for the Federal Emergency Management Agency for serving his community in emergency preparedness efforts. Hunter Toby is a member of the FEMA National Youth Preparedness Council, Region 1 in Massachusetts. In 2003, the President's Council on Service and Civic Participation founded the President's Volunteer Service Award to recognize the important role of volunteers in America's strength and national identity. This award honors individuals whose service positively impacts communities in every corner of the nation and inspires those around them to take action too. Hunter's next service project is presenting a tornado preparedness webinar. The webinar will include federal, state, local public safety agencies who will be discussing response efforts to this type of a disaster, and then they will be working on solutions to barriers and offering collaboration between the agencies. And if you've ever met Hunter, he's really an amazing member of the Mashpee tribe, and he just sort of knows where he's going. He's a junior, and he has great plans ahead. So congratulations to him. And I did highlight this Friday, there's a Mashpee Enterprise article, the monthly article, and Hunter is highlighted in that article as well with a picture on the back. And the only other thing I wanted to point out, which is really maybe not related to mine, it's just a reminder to the school committee members about the Day on the Hill, which is this Friday, April 16th. I sent an email earlier today. It's virtual this year from 9 to 12, but you do have to go on the MASC site to register, and then they will send you sort of a confirmation if you're going to participate in that. And you can do it from the comfort of your own home. The other thing I wanted to point out in the MASC bulletin for April is the nice shout out to Mashpee and the Norton School District for our Magna Award. And so there's a very nice story in that as well. And so now it would be administrator share outs, and Principal Balstracci cannot be here with us tonight. Dean Melby was going to try to come in his place, but I believe she might have dental work that she had late this afternoon. She was trying to get it rescheduled to the morning, but I'm presuming she was unable to. But we do have Principal O'Brien, and she could come and share a little bit about Washington School.
Sure, happy to. All right, I'll try not to make this squeak. No comments this. Okay.
Good job.
How's that?
Good job.
I can leave it on for the next people too. So good evening, everyone. It's great to be here tonight, and I am thrilled to talk about Quashnet School. It is a great place to be every day, and I am very grateful to be here. We are back. We are back strong. We have 96% of our grade 3 through 6 students here, and to go through the classrooms, to see the smiles, to hear the conversations, to look in the lunchroom, which is a little bit scary, I'm going to tell you. If you stop in the gym when you leave, you'll go, oh my goodness. It's 130 desks set up in the whole gym. But it is amazing to see kids back who some we haven't seen since March. And for them to be reunited with their friends is just, it is heartwarming. It truly is. And even students who have been back, but in different cohorts, where they haven't seen some of their friends that they have played with throughout their upbringing here in Mashpee, it's just been terrific. It really has. So we're back to the first day of school, and that's really how the teachers are building the communities within the classrooms. So I have to say it has been a busy 2 weeks, but it is great to have all of our students here. So it's really going quite well. I think the one thing that's been a little challenging with more students is more cars, increased traffic. Some of you might have experienced. And today we were counting the line, and in the drop-off line this morning there were 115 cars. And we felt it was actually a little bit light this morning, which was really interesting. I'm like, oh my goodness. But I would say we average around 120 cars every morning. And in the afternoon with some drop-offs and things, or early dismissals, it's a little bit less than that. But that's been some growing pains. We're working on certainly moving those lines efficiently, but most importantly, safely. So we always ask our parents not to get out of the cars, just to pull up as far as they can up along the sidewalk. So we really appreciate the support and cooperation from our parents and making sure all of our students are safe. And we've added additional blue dots along our front walkway, so at dismissal, We ask all the kids to line up on those blue dots so they are 6 feet apart, except the 6th graders. They get a little privilege and they get to stand over on the grass. There are some things that come with being the big kids on the block. So we let them do that. So the other piece that we have coming up, or that's happened, and I'm glad I wrote this note down because it so impressed me, the questions that the kids are asking. They want to know, well, if we can be 3 feet in a classroom, why do we have to be 6 feet in the lunchroom? They're curious. They have really good questions. And I so encourage them to ask those questions, and we give the answers the best we can. They want to know, and I think that is really such a wonderful thing to celebrate and to encourage with our kids. So that has been wonderful. The other piece, our student council has been really busy. We have a Week of the World coming up in April and after break. And so that group of students is very, very excited to share different regions of the world with the rest of the student body. And they're going to do that through cafeteria time, through lunch presentations. And they've actually worked with Gus Stickley. They went out to really sought him out to have him on board to prepare a lunch menu that week that reflects the regions that they're going to be presenting. So kudos to those guys. They're very ambitious and they want to get a lot done. We also have our Mcas Dates, our windows released. They came on Friday. So we will be planning MCAS after our April vacation. We're really looking forward to it. Trying to make that sound positive, but actually, you know, it will be ready. Our kids will do the best they can, and that's what we're going to ask for. And we always say it's time to just show what you know. And so we're going to move forward in a very positive way. And we'll coordinate our testing dates along with the high school dates to make sure that we're in sync. But overall, things are going really well, and happy to be here. And I just do want to thank the whole administrative team, because every single directive that comes down and every change, unless we have a strong team that we could talk these changes out with, and because we're constantly trying to improve what we do, I just, again, am very grateful for that team. And thank you for your leadership too. Superintendent and assistant superintendent, and to Mrs. Curley, as well as the other principals. Any questions?
Jeff, question?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Okay, Dr. Goulart.
Dr. Goulart, I won't turn you off, and I'll wipe this down.
I know I'll mess it up, so don't touch it.
I'm just wiping it down, so
Okay.
Stacy's watching. There you go.
Thanks, so I just tuck it in.
All right.
All right. Now that we're nice and clean.
You can hear me, yeah. Yeah, all right. So we don't have that kind of exciting news because we've been all in since the beginning. But things are going quite well over at Casey Coombs. Coming up, we have our dance-a-thon. It's our biggest fundraiser. It used to be the Fun Run, but excuse me, because of COVID, the children will be dancing, and we'd like to take them outside and have them go 6 feet apart. And if we can raise $15,000, that's our goal. Mr. Prana and I will be taking pies to the face. Yeah, that was done when I was on quarantine. Better than a dunk tank, though, I guess. So, and you know, each grade's going to have to be able to do that.
I was going to say, how many pies are you going to take?
Oh, I think a lot of pies. So that'll be on.
How do I donate?
Oh, come on over. We'll get you donated more. Just don't donate $15,000. So let's see. things that are going on. Mrs. Daly, our awesome gym teacher, is teaching our little ones how to golf. And I think that if you live on the Cape, golfing is required, right? So, yeah, they're doing that outside. This was National Library Week, so we wanted to give a shout out to Meg Smith, who had a tough day yesterday, and her car wouldn't start, and then she lost her keys, and so a shout out to her for being the best librarian and also surviving the day. She's really creative, and we're doing a new reading challenge that kicked off April 5th, and it goes to the end of the year, June 15th. And so she keeps that going all year long with the help of the Mashpee Public Library. And the last little item I have for you is our students were asked by Southport to create some artwork for their community center. And the artwork came out absolutely beautiful, and they took a whole bunch of pictures, and it decorates their entire community center. It's absolutely lovely. Pictures are in the Falcon Eye if you want to see that, but it's really quite nice. So we've been busy. We've been busy. Access testing is, we're hoping to wrap that up fairly soon for our English language learners. And we're coming up on benchmark testing, but not quite yet. Any questions?
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Goulet.
You're welcome. I don't know what to do. Do I just wipe everything off?
Wipe it down, yeah.
I don't know, I have to touch something to wipe it down.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh-oh.
I didn't do that though.
Okay,
You got it.
everybody knows I'm here. Well, hello everyone. So I just want to say I'm really excited about all the things that are going on. A shout out to Mashpee Public Schools because it's making public relations super easy for me. So many great stories have been coming out of the school. Obviously the Magna Award, I sent that out to all our volunteers, had such positive feedback. The volunteers were commenting that they just knew, weren't surprised that the school had won such an award, that they were proud to be volunteers and excited to be part of the community. So that was really nice to hear from them. Obviously gave me an opportunity to reach out. We've had a lot of really positive press coming out of Mashpee Enterprise and Cape Cod Times. The students are doing amazing things, and that's been publicized. Personal plug, my daughter, who is a Mashpee graduate, is at UMass Medical School, and she just found out another alumni, Kelly Gallagher, will also be attending UMass Medical School. So kids are really doing amazing things. So Mashpee is a great place to be and a great place to start out. We have, for volunteers, we've got the hackathon coming up, and I'm really excited. We've got some great new people coming in to help out. There's Peter McDonald. He's from a company called Wonderite, and he's going to be talking about pitch books, and his MBA class, he started an insurance company, and he pitched it. He was one of the winners. So he'll be talking about pitching with the students. Another gentleman, Brian Bragdon Smith, is with the Lewis Bay Research Center. He's really an interesting gentleman. He was actually one of the original founders or starters of the wind project. And at that time, it had a lot of fish farming coordinated with it. He's really one of those guys that's like a future thinker. Every time I have a conversation with him, I'm just, it reminds me of when we talked about Dick Tracy had the watch that could do everything, and everybody thought it was like magical, and we didn't know what it, that it could actually happen, and here we are, and it's happening. He's one of those guys that comes up with those ideas. So he wants to participate. He says he's really excited to be here with us. And then another local tech company, Savant, which does home technology, is interested in helping out with that hackathon. So I was happy to have some new people come help the kids. Then
in regards to the PR stuff, we also have, we had another collaboration with the Mashpee Commons. So the kids, the high school students put together some Easter posters that then were displayed at the Mashpee Commons. The Mashpee Commons is also helping us with the hackathon, as well as being online. We're gonna have a presence between 3 and 6 at the We Are Mashpee store, and they're also giving us a portion of the parking lot. And they're gonna be flying drones in the parking lot and also doing some robotics outside. And then we'll have some activities inside. And they were really helpful in that they coordinated with the health department to get that all approved for us. Then in regards to the store itself, super excited to have 3 interns working with me. They've been really great. Owen McGovern is just sort of picking up the baton right now with, he's a senior student sales rep. He's put together, well, as a group, we've put together some senior gifts. So we're printing on metal, and students and parents can ask to have like a picture of their students put together. We'll put it on a metal and put it in a frame. They're also doing mugs that say class of 2021. We can put the picture on the mug. We're going to have the graduation cap and gown thumbnails on a mug, and a luggage tag. So those are all potential things that parents can purchase for their students. Then Carolyn Raber has been doing a fantastic job learning how to do the sublimation, creating new lines of business, doing the dog bandanas, and always open to doing new designs. If a customer comes in and wants something, she'll just pop right on and see if she can get that done for them. And then Sydney Burke has been really great. She's been putting in about 6 hours a week on social media and really doing a terrific job. She's interested in going into social media as a career, and she's been doing a terrific job, and she's also worked on a few designs. As a matter of fact, this week, we had a new tie-dye sweatshirt. She did an anchor design on it. We posted out on social media that we had it, and I've had 4 or 5 people come in and go, I want that design that Sydney did. So that was really nice. Even her grandparents came in today to see it. We've started using the 3D printer. For Easter, we were 3D printing eggs, so people could come in and see the eggs being printed, and we gave them away. We've increased the Mashpee merchandise. The Commons has said we were fine to do that. So now we have more merchandise. We've been getting a lot of customers coming in that aren't necessarily Mashpee customers or aren't that familiar with the school, which has been great. So it's given us an opportunity to showcase what we do. And really everybody's been super positive in what they're saying about the school and how excited and how they wish their school district had this, because it really showcases the school so well. With Channel 22, I've kind of pushed that off to May because everybody's so crazy right now. There's some training that's going to happen in regards to that, and some processes we need to develop, but we moved that to May. We're also starting in May going to start working on the new website, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's really about it. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, thank you very much.
I had a quick question. Or did you have one?
Go ahead.
Oh. Is the store staying where it is, or is the Commons letting you stay there? And
So the last time I spoke with John Renz, he had indicated that we would be moving into the space, the old space from Talbot's, after they divided it into 3 sections. But now they are doing some construction, and they moved the Summer Sky, the bathing suit store, has moved into them there, and they indicated that they were told that they were going to be there all summer. So I am trying not to rock the boat. And so I really feel like we're there for the summer because they have so many other projects going on. They have a bunch of new tenants. They're going to have to be, fixing up spaces for that. And he has not indicated in any way that he wants me to move at this point. So I just figured no news is good news.
Okay. That's great.
What was the date of the hackathon, please?
The hackathon is April 30th and May 1st. And it's going to be like online and in person. The in-person part will be on the 30th between 3 and 6 p.m. And that is Amanda Howe who's running that.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Actually, sorry. Skyla's event that she was talking about, the Cradles to Crayons, will
Yes.
you guys be a drop-off place and will the community obviously be made aware?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I am always happy, thrilled, and excited if somebody wants, if the kids are working on a senior project or kids are, doing anything that has to do with a community thing, for us to do it at the school. It's a great place to do it. When we did the, not everything works terrifically there, but when we did the sheets and blankets, one of the senior projects, that was amazing. I can't tell you how many sheets and blankets. I kept having to call and be like, we have to pick up. There's I have so many. The last one, the food drive, didn't really work, but I guess that kind of makes sense because we're not really near a grocery. Close up to a grocery store. I think that's better off in a grocery store. So yeah, and Skylar works at the store herself, so she, is able to promote it a lot better.
Great. Thank you.
Well,
All right.
thank you very much, Consuelo.
All right.
Thank you.
Is somebody coming after me?
No.
Okay. So
Thanks, Consuelo.
safe. I can turn it off.
Yeah, just hit that center
I have
button
to like hold it down for a minute.
till that light goes off.
All right.
Good job.
Bingo.
Thank you, Consuelo. You're doing an outstanding job. We're very lucky to have you in your role. You're very, very creative.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is the Director of Finance, Ashley.
No, wait 1 second. There's one other thing in mind.
Oh, yes, sorry about that. I didn't have glasses.
So you have a hard copy of paperwork related to my goals for 2021. You also received it electronically on Monday in a shared folder, but I just wanted to go over what's in this folder. On the left side, this is the timeline for completing the superintendent's evaluation for this year. And just a quick review, the subcommittee on evaluation, which is Dawn and Kathy, we met on the 24th, and they gave me some great feedback on some of the progress I had reported on my goals at that time. Tonight I'm going to do a brief presentation. Then tomorrow you should receive 4 separate links. Well, the links are here, but you'll get an email from Gail Hannon, and that is this is what we used last year. This is how you will individually evaluate me. And so they are on the 4 different standard areas: instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture. So the 5 individual members, you are asked to complete the Google Forms by Monday, March 26th. And then Gail receives all of those, and then the resulting April 26th. The resulting spreadsheet that is created will then be shared with George, the chair, and then he will be completing the combined evaluation of the superintendent in the Teach Point program, as was done last year. And so by you turning yours in by the 26th, that gives him a very tight window to produce the combined evaluation. And then he will meet with me on May 4th at 11 to review the combined evaluation in advance of the public sharing on May 5th. And so also on the left side of the folder, that's the hard copy sample of what the Google form looks like. So you will have 4 separate, like I said, Google forms, 1 for each of the standards. And then on the right side of this folder, and these are also shared in the online one, the first document is an update by goals, and I'll walk you through that in a minute, but this one is by goals. But the second one, which I felt would be helpful when you actually have to complete the evaluation, is by standards. So each of the goals is tied to certain standards, and so I then organize the evidence by standards, so hopefully that will be helpful. And the last document that's here is the actual, what it looks like in Teach Point, the form that George is going to be completing. And just to point out, not all of the items are being assessed. Just like last year, only certain elements were assessed.
And the ones that are being assessed this year are highlighted in a color. So if you were to look at this document and you see in standard 1C, which is assessment, is not being evaluated this year. So that's sort of the logistical piece. And then if I can take a few minutes to go over the update on goals, do you prefer that I use the goal sheet or the standard sheet? Does it matter?
Doesn't easy for you.
Okay, I'm going to go by the goal sheet. And we had, or I had 4 goals this year. The first one is a district improvement goal, and you'll see on the left column of this 2-page document, in red, it shows you what indicators on the rubric it's tied to. So there's 3 of them there. 1E, which is data-informed decision-making. 4A, which is commitment to high standards, and 4E is shared vision development. And this particular goal is all around the development of our next strategic plan, which we know was interrupted due to COVID. But we do have our final 3 sessions scheduled for May. And the timeline is that by June 16th, we will be able to present this collaborative stakeholder-built plan and for school committee approval. And right now, it is a 3-year plan. The large stakeholder group might choose to adapt that in some way. But I will be sending out, prior to our May 5th next meeting, a summary of the process and what each of the meetings accomplished so that the members will have it fresh in their minds, because I believe we last met, according to this, March 10th of 2020. So that is a long time to remember back what we went through. But the final 3 meetings will be held at the Mashpee High School Library Commons, and we will be spaced, but I'm also hopeful that at that point most of the participants will be post 2 weeks past the vaccination. But we will still be making sure all the safety precautions are put in place. Does anyone have any questions on that first goal? And you'll see highlighted there where it says see separate handout presented by standard. So everything has been incorporated into that second document by standard. Okay, goal number 2 is focused on student learning. It is tied to the indicators 1A, which is curriculum, and 1B, which is instruction. And this had to do with helping and getting that blended learning model in place for this school year. And you'll see the action steps that were taken, which very much were focused around the modern teacher, learning it ourselves and then supporting teachers as they learned it and implemented it. And then some of the, so it says below, steps 1 through 4 were completed, 5 and 7 are ongoing in terms of monitoring playlists and landing pages and Google Classrooms, checking in with students in terms of, and families with some of the feedback. If you look to that next page, it's not a little bit of a, I think a thread in terms of some of our surveys, but the second bullet there, the parent-guardian feedback survey from November, my child was able to access learning and submit work. Might have been measuring more a little bit of sort of their access and ability to learn remotely, but it also gave a positive feedback, and I take it partly as if it wasn't as of a strong, there would have been reasons to dive into it a little bit more as to whether it was related to the learning plans and the delivery of instruction. And then I did pull one from the 2021 Family Opinion Survey. My child's teachers effectively meet his or her academic needs as being somewhat of a measure of success. And so from the feedback we received, those are some of those scores. And then I did want to also point out that the admin team meets every Monday, and we very often do discuss performance data points from within each school or within a grade, and we try to problem solve together and give guidance for what happens then with the groups within each school in terms of the PLCs and the pulse meetings that happen. So we try to keep on top of it as a team in terms of what we're seeing with our students. Anybody have any questions on that second goal? The third goal, which is focused on professional practice, I really divided into 3A and 3B. They both, or they're addressing instruction, which is rubric 1B, indicator 1B, and evaluation, which is 1D. So the first one has to do with the Ruler Institute, which is creating emotionally intelligent schools. And so 3A was all about training ourselves as an admin leadership team and then rolling it out with our teachers. The first year of their approach is to create that knowledge base with our teachers so that in year 2 we can move it forward with our students. And each of the schools did create their charter for this year. That was one of the activities. And the paraprofessionals in particular had a little bit more in-depth course, 3 days worth, I believe, at the beginning of the year in terms of their understanding of Ruler. And then the second piece of this, which was 3B, is participating in analyzing teaching for student results. It's an ATSR course on evaluation. And I participated in that with our entire leadership team at the district level, as well as our assistant principals and deans, so that we were all we will be better able to calibrate ourselves in terms of the evaluation process and the outcomes for our teachers. So that has been completed. And the final professional practice goal is really around everything related to this year. It's a very broad umbrella type of look. There's a lot of indicators listed there. And like I say, if you look on the second sheet in here, you'll see the evidence broken down by each of those indicators. But we've done a lot of work in developing and implementing teaching, learning, personnel, transportation, financial, and facility plans for this school year. Plan 1 has now been updated to Plan 2 for the balance of the school year. And we did have a lot of involvement, a lot of meetings. And if you look on the actual data on the second one, it'll list the number of meetings. It's quite a bit more detailed than on this summary sheet. But a tremendous amount of collaboration, communication, digging into details, no job sort of too big, no job too small, that we were all very much involved with. And it was definitely a team effort this year, all the way from the school committee down to every person's role within this district, to try to make sure we are successful at providing a safe learning environment for all of our students, and also as engaging as we can be with instruction and meeting students where they are. And it went beyond, just the partnerships and collaboration within the district. It also went to the town side, the town manager and DPW and Cape Cod Collaborative, and our families have been tremendous collaborators with us throughout this process. So that is that. And if you do have questions, I really do direct you to the second document. That is much more complete in terms of evidence. And if you have any questions, tonight or in the next, week prior to you having to complete your individual evaluation, feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to hopefully answer the questions that you have or provide you with information if you need it.
Thank you. Questions? Kathy, if you need any help with this?
Welcome school committee.
Actually, I was on the subcommittee then.
So that's true. Okay, and there's nothing in there that says that this can't be done before April 26th, if you can. That's what I say. General comments. Questions?
I have a question. I guess it's relative to the student learning goal. And you may have covered this, Patty, but trying to remember, since it references student outcomes, and obviously this year is a weird year to be looking at student outcomes. So is that the criteria that we use to evaluate that? I mean, what's your suggestion in terms of, why, I guess, do you want to speak to that a little bit about how tracking student outcomes may be challenging this year?
Yeah, so as part of what we do as a leadership team in the district, it's sort of being fed information or collaborating on discussing the information from the school level, but we really pride ourselves on going down to the individual student piece. So a positive student outcome for some students might be more in the social-emotional category and not as much in the academic. But in other students, then when we're looking at that, we're also put safety nets in place. I know at the high school, I believe Principal Balstrati spoke about 60 sort of safety net meetings that they scheduled and held with families based on review of the data. At the department head level at the high school, they meet and they look at student data, and also at the elementary school, they look at PLCs. So we are able to dive down to a student level. We look at the STAR reading and STAR math, and sometimes you might be able to draw conclusions that are more global to a particular grade. Sometimes you can compare classrooms, and then that would invite the principal to be more investigative as to why they might see certain data in one room and it doesn't seem to tell the same story in another room. But we are looking at many layers of our students. We look at the attendance. We have conversations with families in terms of, why behind it. It is trying to find the why behind it. But I do feel confident from what I'm told that our principals, and well, it starts at the teacher level, really have a good handle on the students that are excelling, and some students, thrived a little bit more in the remote model than others. And then those, really looking at what we need to put in place to help each of those students find success. But it is not one sort of collective measure that we're using for every student, because every student really is in a different place. But we do look for patterns and try to address those.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you very much, Patty.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Sure.
So this goals,
Yeah.
and this is the standards.
Yes, and if you're looking at that first page, the yellow one, Nicole,
Yeah.
see how it says 1A curriculum, it's tied to goal 2?
Gotcha,
I
yeah.
have goal 2 on that form, so you could probably navigate just with this thicker document.
Right.
Because, yeah,
Okay, that's what I was,
yeah, that would be my suggestion to each of them.
great, thank you.
Well,
I'll try again. Okay, thank you very much, Patty. And next is the Director of Finance, Catherine.
Hello, everyone. In your packet, I updated the FY21 budget to actual. We are still on pace, and we're doing a great job expending our general fund. And there is also an update for the grants and the revolving accounts. I just want to note that when I pulled these reports last week, the town had not posted revenue updates yet. So school choice is the same, and our grant revenue is the same from the prior report. I did get some questions over the last week, and I sent out the answers today. Are there any additional questions for FY21?
And the questions and answers are posted on the website.
So I do have a follow-up question. I was asking in regard to our purchasing new buses, and it's indicated here that we're planning on purchasing 4 buses for FY22. My follow-up question had been, have we looked at electric buses as a possibility to that? And it's indicated here that today we have not discussed electric buses as an alternative. I know the town recently purchased electric cars and put in a charging station at Town Hall. I don't know the specifics in regard to particularly the cost or the feasibility of using electric buses as an alternative to the diesel-powered buses that we currently have. But it seems to me like that might be something we would want to consider. as we move forward, particularly as we're replacing the fleet over time. So I'm not sure what the protocol is to move that concept forward. I'll pose that question to the chair. I don't know the
Yeah,
answer.
I don't know the answer either. Oops, sorry. I don't know the answer to that either, but I do think it's worth examining in terms of what the cost would be. We replace the buses on a rotating type basis. What would be the cost of replacing a bus when we're replacing it with an electric vehicle? And then if the town already has a charging station, can we use that to charge the buses if need be?
Yeah, I think you'd have to have specific charging stations for the buses, because you can't, you have to plug it in at town hall. You're not going to be able to plug the
Okay.
buses in.
Right.
Right? Do you know anything about any other districts using electric buses?
I do not, but I can definitely research it more and learn more about it. One of the things is that the collaborative does put together our R&D, and the collaborative does maintain our buses, and they do our fuel contracts. So it's I think a much bigger conversation that we need to have with the collaborative and town hall. That's something that we're considering and moving forward with. I know that we did tell them we were going to be purchasing 4 buses next year, so I'm not sure if this is a FY22, but if we are talking about long range, I think it's a great time to start having those conversations as we move forward.
Yeah, and you're the collaborative member right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's perfect.
There you go.
Have
Talk
fun.
about the liaison.
No kidding.
Let us know what you find out.
Unfortunately, we're meeting as we speak.
Yeah, I know, that's the worst thing about this
So,
thing.
so this was a conflict, but in order to have that conversation, we need, I think, we need to generally have some, at least a consensus support, that this is something that we're interested in exploring. I don't know where they are in the process of doing the RFPs and all of that. That would be a conversation that we need to have with Paul, and I suggest that we do that with finance director and superintendent, myself, talk with Paul in regard to that. And it may not be something that can be moved forward for FY22, but we've got a fleet of 18 buses, 18 full-size buses, and then we've got some smaller ones and vans. So we have other vehicles that potentially could be looked at. I think, generally speaking, from what I hear, the automotive industry is moving in that direction anyway. So, I think we should start taking a serious look at whether or not it's reasonable for Mashpee.
Yeah, I think if Ashley can do some research to see what is out there with that technology, and maybe some districts, maybe not Massachusetts, but wherever they are being used, I think it's worth seeing if that's a possibility to shift in that direction. I definitely think as we, the 2 small vans that we have, like that generally are used for sports and small groups going places that haven't really been used this year, those would be perfect vehicles to get as an electric version. I know the town, and there may be a lot of grant money out there enticing us to do, big yellow buses that are electric. I know that the town is leasing, that whole program was based on some really nice incentives to the town to do that.
Right.
And, with the leasing, I think it's tough. I think that.
Yeah, and there was a presentation, I think it was by Bluebird, about the bus company Bluebird, in regard to alternative fuels for the National School Board Committee. They touched on electric, but they really didn't go into any specific details.
And I thought NASIC has propane.
Can I
believe they
That was
do.
an alternative.
Can I make a suggestion? So Judy Lindow is the one that oversaw the propane transition in Nauset. She's smart on all these environmental alternatives to traditional fuel, and that was a huge undertaking for them. So she might know whether they looked at electric initially as well. Not that things haven't changed in 2 or 3 years. Is she still on the collaborative board?
Yes.
Yeah, so she's a great person to talk to. The other thing I would suggest is to put something on the MASC listserv, a question about whether any districts in the Commonwealth are using electric buses, and kind of tap in to see if we get a response from that. Because people who've made the switch are pretty excited to talk about it.
We can do that as well, the superintendent's list, right?
Yeah.
And the MASL.
Yeah. So I would try all that before you set up a meeting with Paul and spend everybody's
let's
time. Yeah.
Do some groundwork, but
Yeah.
I guess, is there a consensus from the committee to move forward and have the superintendent and the finance director expend time and effort on that, given that there's a lot of other things that they need to be doing also?
Well, I guess my question would be to the superintendent if that seems like a priority right now.
I think we can gather information without it being a heavy lift and come back and present. I really generally feel like I would like to see it, that we actually put plans in place and move with a plan for FY '23.
Okay.
Would be what would make me feel a little less stressed.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I just, steering the ship in the right direction. Doesn't matter if we can get there tomorrow, as long as we explore it down the road. So.
Okay, fine. Well, if we could have some information, whatever you can gather, and don't spend as much little time as need be, but if any information we can have with the person is going to write on that school committee meeting. To see what's going on in Marblehead or what have you.
George, just a reminder that no one at home can hear you unless
Oh.
the microphone to your face.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We will put this on as an agenda item for the next school committee meeting for discussion and mainly for information purposes as to what's going on in the rest of the state, perhaps even the rest of the country, and where things are headed. So,
Could I just request, so this is the 14th of April.
Yeah.
Our next meeting is May 5th, and we have a vacation week. That's a little tight, I think.
okay.
Can we just say
a subsequent
a
meeting?
future meeting?
Yeah.
A future meeting. How about a future meeting?
So, did you see my face, George?
I wasn't looking at you, actually.
I was like
Sorry.
shaking my head like.
A future meeting. Okay.
I would just suggest a meeting at some point. Because if you say a future meeting, it gets lost.
Okay.
Not with you at the helm, Don?
Huh?
Not with you at the helm?
I wrote it down. It will not get lost.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Onward, please.
Okay, any other questions for Ashley?
I have 2 final reports. One is food service. It's just an update from the last meeting. I had a great conversation with Don Lisa over at Town Hall going forward. This leads us into the next report of COVID expenses. We're going to be meeting quarterly to discuss expenditures on both the town and school side. And before June 30th, we're actually going to be probably meeting a couple times in the month of June just to make sure we're all on track. For the COVID spending, my final report, I changed it a little bit on the display. I tried to capture every COVID funding or CARES Act ESSER money that we've received to date with the revenue, the expenditures that we've already processed, and then the planned expenditures. So you'll see at the last column is ESSER 3. We just found out that we are potentially going to be receiving $1.4 million of ESSER 3 funds. That could still change, but that's the most current information I have. The RFP is set to come out in May, but the funds will not be coming out until July. So we have time. That money will be running through September 30th, 2024. So we'll be sitting down as an admin team to go over what we're going to write the grant for.
I had one thing. The commissioner did say today that he's going to be pushing to make all of the ESSER money 3 to 5 year ability to spend. So I don't know if that will happen or not, but that is what he is looking for, which would be great.
Question, does it have to be COVID related or?
Yes.
I would think so.
Well, related to infrastructure and, air ventilation and
It's a pretty wide open.
Yeah.
Wide open.
And we
Okay.
haven't seen what ESER 3's tailored to. We've seen what ESER 2, kind of what they wanted us to have in there, which was mental health and summer supports, which we wrote the grant for. But we haven't seen ESER 3 RFP yet.
Could you explain how that works? Because I didn't realize, what does the RFP do?
So the state will issue guidance. They'll give us our allocations and they'll give us the grant proposal that we will take back and work as an admin team to write the grant for. Once we write it, we submit it to the state and the state will review it. They'll come back with any questions or concerns they see and then they will approve it. Once a grant is approved by the state, they issue 10% of the revenue. So we'll see that revenue right away. And then every month we're given the ability to draw down on the grant, which I go into the portal. I say how much money we've expended to date, and then any potential expenditures in the next 30 days, and they provide us the revenue for that.
So we're given a ceiling of 1.4. We're given the framework with which we can spend the money, and then so the RFP is basically, how are you going to do this? And then they could approve all of it. They could not like a few things that we...
They could. They've come back and told us how they want us to present it in the grant application, but they have never told us that they're not going to grant us the money for what we want to use it for. For instance, in the ESER 2 money, we have money for salaries for teachers for the summer school program, the Genius Academy, and they just wanted it presented in a certain way, so they came back to us and asked us to amend the grant form, but they thought the program was fine.
It's the same model as all our entitlement grants. It's the exact same process. So they really won't come back with a no. I don't think that's even possible. You can sort of hear me, right?
And we have the same grant liaison for all of our Mashpee grants, so we know this person, we work with them throughout the course of the year.
That's really cool.
That is good.
Yeah. I wonder if they cover boilers and gymnasium floors.
I was hoping for air conditioning in other locations.
Yeah, air conditioning, scoreboards.
So is the money on the, what is it, 370,000 for the Genius Academy that's listed there, is that in addition to then what we have already in the budget for Camp Falcon?
Yes, those are two different programs, and we are not running Camp Falcon this summer.
Okay, well, that's what I thought, so that money will be left over there. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, fine, thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, John.
I'm all set.
Okay. Probably a good question to ask. Anything from any subcommittee or working group?
No, I think we touched on the
We
fact
touched
that
on
the
it.
evaluation subcommittee.
Evaluation subcommittee, and that's about it. I don't think anybody else is that, okay? Specifically, unassigned or unfinished business, there's 5 to 6 items here. The first one, timely and relevant communication with the school committee. Jeff, that one was yours.
I had to jump up and turn on the light, sorry. Yeah, this is in response to something that happened almost 2.5 months ago. So I also wanted to apologize. I had to jump out of the last meeting early. It was not intentional to miss this part of the agenda. But with the fact that this is honestly my last full meeting, I'm going to pass the torch, and I don't think I need to communicate anymore about my desire for more communication because I will not be on the committee more than next month. So thank you for giving me the time to speak. And again, sorry that I had to rush out last time and make you postpone this to this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else on that? Okay, next item is Mcas letters, state and federal. They've all been sent. Per the request of the last school committee meeting, I also sent one out individually on mine, based mainly on a comment that John made that this is more federal level than state level, so I sent out one from me to the two senators and our congressional representative. Questions?
I know we heard back from Senator Warren. Have we heard back from anybody else?
Not that I know of.
No, I think, well, I'm not sure because I also sent letters, so I think we did hear from Murphy's people and Warren's people.
I have a question, I guess. So, we publicized that we had done this, right? And so I think most members of the committee have heard from a handful of parents, saying that they were hoping for the MCAS to be waived for this year. And I wondered if I was the only one that got information from the MTA in terms of how instructions on how families can opt out of the testing. Did anybody else get that?
I did not, but I'm interested to see them.
So, so Mary Stickley had emailed me that, and I had mentioned it to the superintendent, but we didn't want to have a conversation over email. So I just want to know whether the district will be providing information to families about how they can opt out of MCAS testing, or whether that's the role of school committee members to circulate that information more publicly.
I personally, we are required, or we have to administer the MCAS. I don't think that I would be guiding parents to opt out, but there are resources out there as well. I don't know.
Well, I would just say on our commissioner call today, Rob Curtin, who's in charge of MCAS, was asked that question and made the official statement that there is no option for opting out. And so I think if the district were to do that formally, that would be concerning. What you do with your own children, whether you say, all of that piece, I don't know, Nicole, what Mary Stickley sent you, but I know that we are not in a position where we are able to do that from the DESE perspective.
So this was a link to a website of MTA resources, FAQs, and everything about how to opt out of MCAS testing. And I don't feel like I should be the sole person in possession of that information. I'm sure by saying it in a public meeting, people might be asking me for it now, but I'll forward the email to you guys. This was in direct response to us, stating that we were in support of MCAS being waived. So while I can see that the district might be I didn't know whether you were allowed to publicly provide that option or not. The guidance I received from the state association said that we could provide that information.
We the school committee, I'm sorry, we the school committee or we the district?
I guess we, the school committee.
Okay.
But what I'm hearing the superintendent and assistant superintendent say is that there are no options to do that, so that sounds contradictory.
You mean the MTA is contradicting the state agency of elementary and secondary education? That's crazy. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
So we've always had families, rare, but have opted out in the past. In whatever way they learned about it, they would send an email. But from a district's perspective, we've been told, in terms of the accountability and all of the ways MCAS won't be used this year. They did reduce the number, each student has to sit, particularly at the elementary, for one session of ELA and one session of math. I, as the leader in this district, am not advocating for families to opt out, and I do not want any of my teachers sending messages to families encouraging them to opt out either. I think if a family, through their network of friends where they make decisions, and there's quite a bit out there on the media, makes that decision, but from our point of view, and what we are asked to do by the state, we are asked to administer the MCAS, and that is the sort of company line that we would live. Now, the way to, go at this is not to, rally. Parents could write letters to their legislators, I think what we've attempted to do, the school committee and the superintendent associations, is to work with the legislators to have this be a change versus the protest sort of, we're not taking it kind of thing. Let's work in that way to affect the change that we need the best we can. On Day on the Hill is Friday, right?
I'm sorry?
Day on the Hill is Friday, right? So,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, that would be a great time to bring that up, too.
One other thing I thought I read, I was discussing with talking with Mary Kate earlier, and that is that the grade 11s would not be used for graduation requirements. Did I read that correctly? Or?
What was your question, Curley? I cannot be heard very well.
Sorry, technical difficulties. Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, I thought I had read somewhere that grade 11, the test would not be used anything towards graduation requirements, or
Yes.
to that effect. Okay. I did read it, Mary Kate.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else on the subject?
Yeah, Hope, could you address, we had a conversation about this a while ago too, about people skipping, like keeping their kid out during Mcas dates, like homesick or something like that, and what the requirements are for the district if somebody is in school but misses the test for some reason?
Okay, those are two different things. If you are in school, and your parents...
Sorry, I meant to say if they were, if we found out 7th grade gets tested on this day and they decide, oh, I'm just going to keep my kid home that day. Can you explain to families what happens?
Yes. So if, I keep my 7th grader home on the day that they're doing ELAM test because I don't want my 7th grader to take it, if they come back in during the makeup window, we still have to provide that test, or they just sit there. So it's not like you can just hold your child home one day if you don't want your child to participate. There's a window of makeups, and any day that your child is here during those makeups, we have to offer the test. Mary Kate, am I saying that correctly?
You are. That's
Thanks.
how I understand it.
I just want to make sure everybody has all that information.
No, that's important to
That's a
know.
good one, actually. I didn't know that either. Anything else on the letters?
I will say, I think it was yesterday Patty circulated, or maybe it was the day before. I don't know. They all blend together now. But it basically that DESE came out with the guidance for remote MCAS administration. So I don't think we're going to be successful at getting them to cancel MCAS this year. It's pretty ridiculous in my opinion. But I never thought I'd see the words remote MCAS administration anywhere. So.
Well, parents can be proctors, right?
Yeah.
That's where it sits. Thank you all. Racial equity workshops for the school committee.
So I think most of you would have received the save the date type of thing that Gail Hannon sent out. But the KW diversity, so it's Dr. Khalees Warnham, is going to provide a 1.5-hour workshop, understanding implicit bias and its connection to our work. And this is hopefully going to be a collaboration with the school committee, district leadership, and then on the town side, the town manager and board of selectmen. And I did offer, if he had other leaders within his organization that he would like to participate, such as a fire chief or a police chief as well. So I will be confirming a little bit more information with the town manager tomorrow, but the date is July 26th from 1 to 2:30 is the current plan. We're hoping we don't have to do it virtually. So we will get you more information, but we have signed the agreement with the presenter, and that's the date.
Thank you. Questions? Go.
Is there any, have we considered opening it up to tribal leadership as well?
Yeah, I definitely think we can include that.
I'm sorry?
Yes, we can include that.
Okay, but we have not yet?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Town meeting is Monday, May 3rd, 7 p.m. at the Mashpee Middle High School. It's going to be all outside. None of it will be inside. It starts at 7 o'clock. And the important thing as far as the school committee is concerned is the school committee budget we voted on, plus the capital items of the capital budget. Anything else, Patty?
No, the capital improvement program we presented to the selectmen on Monday night virtually. But they're going to use, it's totally on the stadium field. The decision originally was sort of a hybrid in the gym out under a tent model, but now they've gone 100% with the idea of the tents. I'm meeting Wayne Taylor, assistant town manager, tomorrow morning at 8:15. They would be putting the tent up on the field on the Sunday the 2nd. And then obviously we're hoping for sunshine and a nice evening on the 3rd, but if it weren't, it could potentially be the 4th, that Tuesday night when the meeting would actually be held. And so all the logistics, Sean Maroney is also going to be meeting and with the group tomorrow, Mashpee TV as well. But it's similar to what we did for graduation in terms of all the sound. They have the lights, they'll have everything in place, so that's the plan. And the way they voted on it.
Any questions? And what is the last item here? Oh yes, town election will be at the Quashnet School Saturday, May 8th. I think it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
I don't know if Hope was asking if there's early voting for that. I don't know.
I haven't seen anything.
No, but the logistics of that, where normally they come in to set up, is a little bit more involved with 100 and how many chairs in there?
130.
130 desks and chairs in that gymnasium. So there is, I believe they're coming in on Friday afternoon. Mary Kate has been able to say that after lunches are done, they may access the gym. Even though in other years, there's a clear understanding that they do not set up until after the school day ends. But for this particular one, we will try to accommodate them since they have to move so many pieces of furniture.
And replace them.
And put the, they're going to be, yes, Catherine says they will be putting them back on Sunday.
Yeah, there's no early voting for this election, but you can request an early ballot and vote early by dropping off your ballot at town hall. But there isn't going to be a town.
Early voting.
Yeah, not at the town hall or anything like that.
COVID, okay, any other questions on the unassigned or unfinished business? If not, we move on to the Magna Award, and this is all Nicole.
Oh. What would you like me to say about it? We won the Magna Award.
Well, thank you very much. I knew this meeting would get over early.
We have Mashpee kids featured on the national magazine. We have beautiful posters, thanks to Mary Kate's printer. I saw we had signed copies in the superintendent's office, which is very cool. We have a nice 2.5-minute video that sort of gives highlights of the partnership that, frankly, the highlight for me of which was our students, our fabulous Native students that were featured in that. And so I appreciate all the suggestions that Patty made to really, when they first contacted us, they would typically send this crew to Cape Cod, and trust me, they were very disappointed that they weren't getting to come here and make this little video for us. But then we found out it was only 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, and I thought, I can't believe they're sending people out to make these. But thanks to Consuelo, working with Bill Nye at Mashpee TV to get some B-roll footage, we had it looked like they spent time in our community, which was just fantastic and exactly kind of the way I think Patty and I pictured it. Patty suggested a lot of great, a lot of students to be interviewed. Roxanne was fantastic, and I don't know about the rest of you guys, but when it came on, I was totally surprised because they didn't tell us when it was going to be announced. And the last time we were physically at a National School Board Association conference, it happens in the plenary where there are like 5,000 people, all sitting in these chairs, and they announce it on the big screen. And so it kind of had that same feeling because all of a sudden they were talking about Mashpee, which was fun. Did you guys, anyone else get to see it live?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice presentation by you also.
Oh, yeah.
Very well done.
Thanks. I did that in one take. And what was really funny is my son has a wristwatch that is set to go off at 11:11, he can't figure out how to turn it off. And so for half the year it's 10:11, and for the rest of the year it's 11:11. And so we were meeting to record that session. And I had to set it up differently in my home because you had to be hard lined in. So I had to use a hard Ethernet cord, and we weren't allowed to be on Wi-Fi. And I got the whole thing set up, and nobody's there. And you know, the kids were remote learning that week, of course, so they're like upstairs, but they're in charge of the dog. There can be no noise. It took them a while to get the whole production crew set up, and then we start, and it's like I'm 3 minutes in to my presentation, and I hear coming out of my kitchen, and I was like, oh my God. But so I was listening very intently for that during the presentation. I thought, I wonder if I'm going to be able to hear Sam's alarm. So it was really a great experience, and I really did feel quite privileged to represent everybody's hard work and to be the face of the partnership in that venue with all of our peers across the country. And I already heard from a school board in New Mexico that was kind of interesting that they wanted to talk to us because their student body is 95% Navajo. And he was very anxious to connect with us. So that was kind of the outcome I hoped for when we applied for this. And you know, before we applied for the award, Patty and I had put in for a session in the conference. You know, so just to present on the partnership, never mind, you know, competing for the award. And the rationale for that was that I really wanted to connect our folks with other districts and other, you know, who knows what they're doing for Native students in other parts of the country. There's probably some really great ideas out there that we haven't thought of yet. And so I'm hoping to uncover some of those. And then I don't know if on the second day that you saw the presentation by Portland Public Schools on Make It Happen, which is a ESL oriented program around mentoring and languages, and right up the road in Portland, Maine. So Grace was she wanted to come see our schools, and she invited us to come up there as well. And I know some of our other counterparts on the Cape are interested as well. So I think the great thing about the award, the recognition's wonderful, but it's the connections across these other districts that I'm particularly excited about. So, yay, Mashpee.
When's your field trip to New Mexico?
Yeah, well, that would be something, wouldn't it? Yeah, I guess we have to wait post-COVID. We'll have to see. But yeah, that sounds, that would really be something.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Nicole. I do not know of, nothing else has come up. Public comment, I do not see anybody else on the screen. Is there anybody in the chat?
There's nothing in the chat. It's my favorite thing to say.
Okay, and since we are well before the time for adjournment here, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Is there a second to that motion?
This is Jeff, I second.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Motion by Kathy, seconded by Jeff. Discussion, Kathy?
Nope, none.
Hearing none, call for the vote. Kathy?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Go on.
Okay with you, Brad. Yes.
Well, that's the most reluctant, but never mind. Nicole?
Yes.
And George, yes. The meeting stands adjourned.